Well, welcome back, everyone, to Two Pastors and a Mic. My name is Cory.
And I'm Channock.
And we're so glad that you're joining us wherever you're joining us from, whether in your car, on your morning commute on your morning commute to work, whether you listen live on Wednesdays or if you're in the Netherlands or all over the world. We have so many listens from all over the world. It's pretty crazy, pretty encouraging. If you're watching us from GAN, welcome. YouTube, welcome. We appreciate all the love, the support. If you haven't shared our podcast with someone, we would greatly appreciate it. Seriously, share it on socials. Hey, get a conversation starting. If you haven't left a review, go do it. Our last review was talking about light bulbs. Did you see that one? It was very interesting. I think it was a response to one of our episodes, but it made me chuckle. But go leave.
I don't know if I did. You didn't share that with me.
Go leave a review.
You usually do.
I know. I usually do, but I left you hanging on that one.
It's all good.
Yeah, we've had a lot of great feedback recently, not just from the podcast, but also from Hill City Church sermons. We've been in a series called Refine. They've been really encouraging as we talk about wilderness experiences. If you haven't checked that out, just a lot of resources for you, not just our books, which we're going to talk about your book specifically today. We're going to jump right in. And over the next several weeks, we're going to talk about different chapters, but kind of give a little bit more insight on the podcast, more than what you get in the book. You're going to hear a lot of context and a lot more personal stories, which I think are going to be really beneficial, not just to our audience, but for me and you to be even able to share some of those things. My book, also my ebooks, all available for free. My ebooks are available for free, but this is not. So go get involved in all the resources that we have available for you, because I truly believe they will bless your life.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe to our podcast channel and leave a review. I wasn't aware of this, but you really need to go listen to this past Sunday's message from Cory. He did a really good job. It was kind of a heavy topic, going through deconstruction, a lot of stuff that we actually unpack here on the podcast, but not maybe specific issues, but just the feeling and the weight of going through that process. It was really good. But one thing you mentioned is several of the 1-star reviews that we've gotten, and definitely want to counter those with some encouragement and some positivity. So if you haven't already and you're on Apple, make sure you give us 5 stars. Spotify, you can rate us as well. And you can always leave a review, maybe even to rebuttal some of those 1-star
Did you see the
reviews.
one that the Hattons, our friends from Vancouver, did you see what they wrote on the YouTube video online while we were preaching about the 1-star review?
No.
Copy and pasted one. Someone said, "This isn't a bad review. It's a good review. I just hate the color yellow."
I think you or somebody sent that to me. Someone hates the color yellow, so they didn't want it 5 stars of yellow. So they gave it 1 star because they hate yellow, but it was a positive review. Which people, like, really, like, world. Seriously.
I love it.
It's wild.
I love people. So funny. So funny. So seriously, we have enjoyed the feedback. We appreciate that. We are accessible to people. So if you have questions, emails, or write in the comments on Facebook, or send us a text, we'd love to get involved in your spiritual journey wherever you are. We recognize that, honestly, I've had to come to realization that this podcast isn't for everybody, and I get that. And so we want to encourage you, believe in you, help you believe the right things about you, not just God, but you and how God views you, which is what this book's all about. But today and for the next several weeks, we're going to talk about Enough Already. Came out June 25th this past year.
Yep.
We thought that, I know I already said this, but we thought that there's so many great things that we couldn't add into the book. You don't want it to be too long. You do want it to be a quicker read, especially in our context and culture today. But we wanted to unpack a couple chapters at a time.
Concise, direct. Let me get the information, the story, the point, and done. Well, in my writing anyway, Cory will tell you this, when I tell a story, I like to focus on every detail so the person gets the same or as close to the same experience that I felt in the moment in these stories. And when I tell a story in person, he thinks I take double the amount of time to be able to tell the story.
Like,
but when I write,
give me the info.
I'm like, info, direct. Here it is.
Yeah, talk to me like you're writing a book from here on out.
Yeah.
If Channock asks me to help on a project, I double the time. So if he's like, it's only going to take an hour, I know it's taking a minimum of 2. But you're a great guy. Still love you.
Yeah.
Enough Already. Why Enough Already? And why don't you tell the people how this book came to be in terms of, like, the title and even the subtitle, from The Private Hell of Performance to the Freedom of Knowing I Am, because those were not the original ones. In fact,
Right.
when we thought originally that you were going to write a book called Shancock Bante, and it'd be totally on identity, even though that became the first chapter. But one of the struggles is you kept on trying to name the book. And I was like, hey, this is kind of like a baby. Wait for this thing to pop out and you'll know what it's supposed to be called. So how did you end up landing at Enough Already? What were the other titles? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Not fully. I try to go a little bit provocative because I wanted it to grab attention. I can't remember what the most provocative thing was. I think it had to do something with a curse word or something in the title. And I'm like, and it like started out and all that stuff that they do for cuss words, but I didn't choose that route. I just went ahead and labeled it this, and it felt right. And as you said, you told me not to even begin to think about what I'm going to call the book or name the book till I've written most of it or a lot of the chapters to kind of develop the main thought and theme through the book. And as you said, when I first started writing, I knew I wanted to write Shancock Bante. And I tell the story, and I think I've already shared it on the podcast. That was written like 2 or 3 years ago, that first chapter. And then I just sat on it. And I thought it was
2 years ago to the day almost. We did a series called The 7 Reasons Why Jesus Didn't Die for Your Sins, and then 7 Reasons Why Jesus Had to Die on the Cross. And it kickstarted like several months of sevens. You can go back 2023 in August. And I was listening it back literally this past week because I just recommended somebody to go listen to it because they asked that question. And I was like, well, let me go back and check it out and see what I believe if I'm still in line with our views 2 years ago. And you told the story that you had just written chapter 1 called Shancock Bante, but you didn't know if it was going to become a book. And I just laughed, listened to it thinking, oh my goodness, wild. Now 2 years later, knowing that the book
because
is out.
I really thought it was going to be all about identity and sonship and figuring out like truly who you are at your core. But as I began to write different chapters, it started off kind of like it was going to lead into a lot of identity stuff, but instead it kind of shifted into more like my process over the last 4 or 5 years, going through just an emotional health journey, getting a part of a program where I went through a lot of group counseling, and the things that I was learning there ended up becoming like chapters on its own. So really, when you look at this book and the framework of it, it started off kind of with identity piece and figuring out really who I am apart from what I do, and how and we'll talk about it, that performance piece really like robbed from me just enjoyment and peace. And then how I had to start this emotional health journey. And so this whole middle section are different components that really changed my life. And again, this podcast over the next few weeks, we'll get into some of those, especially the chapter on accepting negative realities, which is called integration in the counseling world. And that probably was the most life-changing thing for me. And then it developed into like this healing journey for 4, 5, 6 chapters that I took everyone on, that I went through to get to a place of peace and making my bed in the boat. And like how now I see the church and leadership and everything flows from that healthy place now. Mm-hmm. So that was really the journey of it. And whenever I begin to think about, okay, now what am I going to call this? And it just felt logical, like 4 or 5 years ago where I was at, like, I can't keep living this way. I can't keep like going full throttle in like basically performance, and wondering and worrying about what everyone else was thinking about me, and judging week to week this roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of times on Sunday morning, because this organization is what I lead personally. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people don't know the behind the scenes. They don't know what happens every day, all through the week. They only visibly see Sundays. And so that's where they get their judgment from. And so my week would be up and down based on how well totally I thought Sundays went, which now Sundays, even if we feel like it's a down Sunday, it's barely a blip on my radar. Yeah. Like my mentality now is, well, another one comes next week. Yeah. We'll
figure it out.
Hopefully we have hundreds more to continue to do. And so I was like, yeah, like, okay, I'm tired of it. But I finally just was thinking about, okay, I came to a place of understanding who I was fully, and that I am enough. And then it just kind of clicked, like, okay, enough. Yeah. And I got tired of and so I put all this stuff together, and I was like, yeah, enough already. This play on words of, I'm tired of everything. I'm tired of living that way. I don't want to be known as someone by what I do, and only based on their judgment of me based on my performance. I don't care anymore. Like, I got to say enough already to that, because I know I'm enough already. So it just like felt like it was right.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to have that subtitle specifically of From the Private Hell of Performance, because it is a hell. And I wanted that because my writing style isn't it's very direct, as we already talked about. And it isn't like something I like to dwell on maybe the negative too much, or I don't take people to like the dark places, like deep dark places in my life and journey, things like that. But I wanted a certain word or certain feeling when they read it, like, okay, the private hell of performance, like it is a living hell.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to feel that. So that's why I put that in the subtitle.
Yeah. I love it. I love how you processed it, even like, because this is still, you wrote the book, but it's still stuff you are currently dealing with and overcoming and processing. Yeah. It doesn't, just because you know that you're enough already, doesn't mean you don't deal with different insecurities and different thoughts around that. But what I've seen in your life is how quickly you respond to that, open and honest to admit it, and then deal with it. What used to affect you for days and or weeks now only affects you for a moment. And that is honestly the goal of emotional health, is your problems don't just go away.
Right.
Like, you just learn how to deal with them in a healthy and quicker, ultimately way. Over time, you will deal with your stuff quicker.
Yeah. And you're just more prepared.
Yeah.
I think
I'm
that's
proud of you.
I think it's the biggest key of like all the things that I went through is now when I face whatever it is, a thought, a mindset, a lie, or even what someone has verbally said, I process it, think about it, and then I run it through that filter of everything that I went through, and it is filtered out very quickly now.
Yeah. Well, on August 13th, I don't know why I posted this 13 years ago or 12 years ago when I did. I posted our trip from Aruba on August 13th. So I had Facebook give me a reminder. Like, hey, you posted these pictures, which August 13th is a special day in my parents' life. Happy anniversary to my parents, 48 years, big deal. Big shout out to them. But I got this reminder, and I sent you a picture just this past week of what?
Yeah, I love it. Well, in the book, I talk about me becoming Shancock Bante. And I know I've shared this a lot on the podcast. I think maybe I need to tell that story real quick to go
good.
into it.
It's part of the chapter 1.
Well, no,
just
but
tell them this part of what I sent you.
And as I was Shancock Bante, and then I made the decision to take that reservation, I became Shancock Bante. And I tell in the book how everywhere I went, when I made reservations anywhere, I had to make them under Shancock Bante. When I wanted a towel for towel service at the pool, it had to go into the room for Shancock Bante. And then every day in Aruba, you have to book a cabana out at the beach to get a certain one or certain place. And you have to do it 24 hours in advance. And so I go up to make the reservation for it. And again, I can't put it under my name because the hotel, then the room is under Shancock Bante. And so I had to say, it's
I'm going to post
Bante.
it. I'm going to post that
we
picture
need to post it with this podcast on Wednesday. And we go out the next morning to the cabana, and we're trying to find the palm tree, and we're looking around, and then we finally, there it is, and it said Bante, a big sign.
I don't know if you remember it. We passed it multiple times thinking they didn't book it. I think you even went back to be like, they didn't book it for us because we were looking for Bannet. And then we found Bante, and we were like, this is amazing. Because I think that was like the very first day.
You did take a picture on it. I took a picture. It was amazing.
I took a picture.
I'm so glad you took a picture because it just solidifies it. Like, because I've even had a couple people ask me since they read the book, like, did all that really happen?
Yes.
And then like, not just the reservation, but then everything else. Did you really have to live like, and you really did every day? And I'm like, I did every day.
Every day.
I was Shancock Bante.
There were like 48 pictures in that. And I should have sent you in it with Reg, but I sent Reggie a personal one. But there's a picture of him when we went out on the Jeep and got lost. Reggie had to go to the bathroom, so he's peeing off to this huge rock, and I took a picture of it. Of course I did. So I sent it to him, and I'm like, I don't think there's been another human being who have ever lived to pee off of that rock, because it's like this private thing. It was really funny, but yeah, Shancock Bante, chapter 1.
Yep.
Why don't you talk about how performance culture even shaped your inner world with that process of, finding that identity crisis and trying to prove your worth to the world?
Yeah. So I think I want to tell this story. And again, this is on the fly. Like, you're asking me these questions in the moment. And just so our audience and listeners know that. So for me, growing up as a pastor's kid and just really seeing everything that my dad had to deal with, struggle with, process, to lead, it just really shaped me in a way where I found that he got himself in some situations that just personally I thought maybe could have been avoided if he would have gave it a little bit more attention or a little bit more detail or a little bit more focus or whatever. And I really remember being young and thinking to myself, like, if I become pastor, if I'm ever a pastor one day, I'll do it this way. And in my mind, it was because I don't want people to question anything I ever do. Like, I want them to think that, oh, he knows what he's doing. He makes the quick decision. He has everything figured out. He'll work his butt off to get it done. And even at a young age, I made that like inner vow, which really set up and shaped my life in a negative way, making that vow. And so when I became lead pastor, it was one of those things where, again, part of it, I look back at my dad, and he had great leadership. He definitely wanted to lead in group settings, and he taught me a lot in that regard. And he would give moments for training. Now, I didn't like the way he did it, because I remember being like, 16, 17, helping out a lot, helping out with Sunday school, just doing anything and everything around here to help, physically too, cleaning the restrooms, helping run sound, like doing all of it. But I remember he would like grab me early on, and even when I became youth pastor, and so I technically worked for him, he would just grab me on a Sunday morning, service is literally starting. He's like, oh, hey, I need you to do a communion right after worship today. And in that moment, I felt so like unprepared. It's like my biggest fear, to get in front of somebody and not know what to say, or to say a bunch of like garbage. Yeah. And it not make sense or not be cohesive. Like I like to prepare. I like to think through things, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the Spirit can help us in our preparation to get something for the day. And so it's not that I wasn't Spirit led. It's just catching me in those moments. Like, wait, what am I going to say? I haven't done communion in like 6 months. What? Like literally the first song is starting. And then so worship gets over with, and I have to do it. Like, and I'm getting up there and I'm putting myself out there. And I remember in all those moments feeling so unprepared, feeling so like sometimes stupid. Like I don't even know if what I said made sense, because I just had to try to get it in the moment. Like I had no time. And there were parts of me where I was very mad and frustrated at my dad, because it wasn't just like a one-time thing. Things like that happened all the time. Or it was like, hey, whatever, time for prayer or like ministry or whatever. Hey, Shannon, come up here. I need you to lead the ministry time. Like, wait, what? Catching me in the moment. Like, I don't think people can understand it's not just even pressure, like the moment of being unprepared to be asked to do something that you literally have never done, and you got to do it in front of 100 plus people. Yeah. Like people would not do it. People would freak out. People would say no. I was never in a place where I could say no. Yeah. And so because of that, I'm telling this for a reason. Because of that, it set my life up and my leadership up in a way. I have to be the most prepared person. I have to study my butt off. I have to get everything right, because I don't want to sound stupid. I don't want to be in a place where people look at me and they think, oh, well, he's not that smart, or he's not that educated, or he really doesn't know how to do ministry, or that didn't make sense. Like is what I'm saying resonating? Yeah. And so for me, right out of the gate when I took over, man, it was all based on performance. And to the point where, like, when I was getting messages, I would have to like spend 20, 30 hours on one message and getting it all done, getting an outline. Then I would write it all out. Then I would practice it. Then I would practice it a second time just for Sunday morning. And I look back at that now, like my best messages are when I don't prepare at all. And I go out there in the moment, just allow the Spirit to really lead me. But again,
it took time to get there.
But then I think about it on this side of it and thinking, man, I'm so thankful to my dad now for putting me in all those moments, because there's not a ministry situation now where if someone just threw me a mic and said, you need to do this, it doesn't matter what it is in the church world, I would do it and I would kill it and it would be amazing. And so I'm thankful for that too. But I look back, and that really also set the stage for me to go through a lot of just heartache and struggle and turmoil. And I write in the book later on about how I would sit out in the parking lot on Sunday mornings just in tears, because I'd be like, God, this does not feel easy and light. What Matthew 11 says, following you, you said your yoke is easy, your burden is light. this is hard and heavy, and I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But again, I have to. I'm in a position where I can't just like, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah. Right.
People don't understand too, like when you're in pastoral ministry and what we do, you also like can't take a sick day.
Mm-hmm.
I've had one time I was sick as a dog and I couldn't come over. You remember? And I said,
Mm-hmm.
Reggie, Cory, like I'm literally puking my guts out. Like
Mm-hmm.
I cannot come. One time I'm 45 years old and I've had to do ministry stuff my whole life. One Sunday I've missed in my life because I was sick.
Yeah.
You can't.
Do you know what happened because of that?
No.
Do you remember this? I remember it like it was yesterday. So I had to preach and I had a backup message because someone told me always have a backup message in case you get put on the spot. So it was fine. But I think it was later that year because we were in this space.
Yeah. At our older sanctuary.
I preached a message sick with the flu.
I remember
Josh
it.
McCain calls it my Jordan game.
I do.
Game 7 or whatever it is. And I had a bucket on stage in case I had to puke mid-message. And I powered through that because I didn't want to put you in that position that I was in.
Yeah.
Because
you felt it and you knew it. And the performance piece.
Oh,
and so
goodness.
you're being put on the spot like that. And yeah, it's just so wild. So that's the way I lived my life for so long. And the first probably a good, I would say a good 5 to 7 years, it was a lot of just performance driven. And man, I'm going to be honest, like, again, I want to say I wasn't really happy, but there were moments I was when I felt like things were amazing and I killed it. And all that preparation led to some amazing stuff. And that did happen. And God honored all of that time and commitment. But now looking back on that, thinking like, man, like that was really not good for me in my health. Like the emotional roller coaster week to week. And even on Sundays, just Sundays were not a day of rest for me, even afterwards, just because it was like turmoil all day. And even when I thought I killed it, I was like, oh, I should have done this. Oh, this could have led to that ministry moment. Oh, I should have had that prophetic word for that person and should have just given it. Oh, I should have, you know what I mean? It's just second guessing and all of it. It's all freaking performance based.
Yeah. And in 10 minutes,
it is a hell.
In 10 minutes, you heard a lot. But what you haven't heard and what you might never hear is, well, you heard the core wound that came up, the experiences that you had as a child with the pressure that was put on you. But you've done years of counseling work unpacking that because that lie has also played a part in your marriage, parenting, in every aspect of your life is overcoming this. Am I a good enough dad? Am I a good enough husband? Because we've talked about this and I've struggled with the same thing. That's why I think this book resonates with almost every single person in any area of work, because we all have these core wounds where we attach false beliefs that become truths to us, and then we operate out of those false beliefs. And it's just this striving. It's like the hamster wheel over and over again. Am I good enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I valuable enough? Do you see how much work I have? A core wound of always being told I was lazy. So there's a reason for why. And in counseling, I've had to unpack that core truth of like, am I overcompensating here to try to earn a spot at a table that I'm already seated at?
Right.
And it's exhausting and it's miserable.
So exhausting.
It's so important to be able to talk about this with safe people.
Yeah. And I'll just be vulnerable here too. And what this led to, especially early on, as I was figuring out my rhythm, my message, things like that, I would listen to probably 7 or 8 that I can think of pastors and their messages every single week. And I took notes because I was like, oh, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, these guys got it figured out. These guys are successful. These guys are great communicators. These guys are great on transitions. These guys use great stories and illustrations. Like, I need to try to like copy them. I need to try to like think like them or like communicate like them. Oh, that's a great story. And a lot of times I would listen to it and I would hear some of their stories and how they connected it to certain scriptures. I'm like, and I would never steal their stories, but I would be like, oh, I have a similar experience. Oh, this is amazing. I can share my story and tie it in the same way they did because I listened to it. And I thought that was great. And so that was the first probably four years or something getting into it. Like, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing now, but I can't tell you, it's probably been since pre-COVID since I listened to another pastor's message.
I know.
Like I'm over services and over messages.
We know you are. And so there's a lot to do within the whole book talking about the mask, discovering, because you can't remove a mask that you're not aware exists.
Yeah.
And the church people have done a really good job over decades is learning how to wear your mask better which is why we talk about getting into emotional health work, to discover these inner vows I love that you brought that up, because we have never really talked about the inner vows that we've all made an inner vow that will never happen to me again in adolescence. And then you wonder why you're constantly provoked in that way. You made an inner vow that needs to be unworked or reworked.
Yeah.
But also like that mask of shame, of being good enough, of being worthy, of proving all of those things, especially in a ministry setting, but also outside of that. Reflect on that shame for a minute and where
you want to go into that, because that's chapter 2. I thought we were going.
Oh, is it? Week. Okay, yeah, we'll wait for that then.
Yeah, I think what I want to talk about real quick is, like, why did this make such an impact? So you've heard about Shancock Bante. This is probably the 6th or 7th time I've even talked about it in a podcast. Now, this is specifically what it is for my book, but I've shared the story just so much because there was something in me that week that just so loved being someone else. Like truly. And what I loved about it, and this kind of ties into the shame, is because like I could finally just be free of the weight of performance, ministry, like what people try to place on me, or what I've honestly, mostly what I've placed on myself, what I thought other people wanted me to be. And that week it was, and I still look back at it, and it was 2013, 12 years ago. And it still to this day was probably one of the most fun weeks I've had in my life. And I keep going back to it. Like, why did I have so much fun? I mean, of course, being with you guys, but at the same time, like I was just free from being the pastor with those responsibilities, with that weight back home. And it was just, I could live my life and be who I wanted to be, and just at peace with no weight or shame of anything. And so, so that's why I started the book with this chapter, because it really sets the tone. And I think people with this accompanied by like the next few chapters of the shame and the things that robbed me, I think it really does like start off not really heavy, but just people probably feel the weight of the things that I had to
it sucks you in,
hold.
For sure. It sucks you in. I appreciate you writing it so much, because there's so many times I related to your lived experiences just in a different way, or was inspired by it. And so as we close this episode, here's my last question for chapter 1 is, how does this book differ from your typical self-help and or leadership guide? What would you say?
Well, I would say most leadership guides or books that I've ever read in my life are all like how-tos. You know, here's how to become a better leader. Here's how to overcome this. Here's how to be a better financial steward. Here's how to do this in leadership. Like they're all how-tos. This book isn't like really any how-to. It's simply a glimpse into my journey for real, my life over the last 4 or 5 years. And I just wanted to put my story out there and everything that I went through, everything that I was learning. And I really think the reader can get into it and apply everything that I went through to their personal life. And some things might look different, be different, or different orders. And there might just be one thing. You might read 1 or 2 sentences out of a chapter and be like, oh my gosh, I read this whole book for this right here. And this is going to really help me for this next season of my healing journey, and journey into more freedom. And so it's not how to get free. It's not how to beat performance. It's just my story and my life and the transition I went from that private hell of performance to really being like more free than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, I love it. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do, because most of our listeners have probably already bought it, and we appreciate the love and support. Seriously, if you have a pastor, buy this for them, or think of one person that you could buy this book for, that after listening to his heart for the last 30 minutes or so, you've been inspired by. Because again, we know that many of you have bought it. Who can you buy this book for, knowing that it will encourage, challenge, but inspire people to lay down the mask that we are so familiar wearing in the church? So thank you for sharing that. Next week, chapters 2 and 3, it's going to be a good time. Know, church, as always, and all of our listeners, you're loved, and there's nothing you can do about it.